Welcome to Cayman Turtle Center.
A day of fun and adventure awaits at Cayman Turtle Center Island Wildlife Encounter. Swim and snorkel alongside sea turtles and other marine life. Meet tropical birds in the aviary, ride our turtle twister water slide, or simply relax by the lagoon. Plan your adventure today.
Visit us online at www.turtle.ky.
Looking for something fun and different to do with the family? Join us at the Cayman Turtle Center for Grill and Chill Saturdays. Every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., enjoy a poolside barbecue, buckets of beer and daiquiri specials, and a live DJ. It's Grill and Chill Saturdays at Cayman Turtle Center. Come and celebrate Cayman's culture and our national heroes at Cultural Day at the Cayman Turtle Center. Monday, the 22nd of January, Cayman Turtle Center will be celebrating from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. with incredible deals for you and your family. Come and enjoy food and drink specials all day long. Swim with the turtles and fish in the lagoon. Enjoy the live DJ poolside and have fun with cultural activities throughout the park. Come and celebrate our heroes and immerse yourself in Cayman's culture at Cultural Day at the Cayman Turtle Center, Monday, January 22nd.
Good morning and welcome to The Green Scene, hosted by the Cayman Turtle Conservation and Education Center. My name is Geddes Hislop. I'm the curator for terrestrial exhibits and education programs at Cayman Turtle Center. I'm joined this morning by our education team, education programs officers Shauna McGill and Wendy Dandy. We're excited to be launching the second season of our show, The Green Scene, and we hope that you will tune in every Saturday at 11 a.m. here on Bobo 89.1 FM as we talk about conservation, wildlife, and more. In today's episode, we'll be exploring the 2023 turtle nesting season at the Cayman Turtle Conservation Education Center. We have a special guest joining us, and we are going to get right into it.
Good morning and welcome to The Green Scene, brought to you by Cayman Turtle Conservation and Education Center. We're back with our second season and our first episode of the year 2024. We're so excited to be back and bringing our conservation and education programs back to the public. So today's episode, we'll be talking about our 2023 nesting season. And to talk about it, we brought in two special guests from the center here with us this morning. So today I have with me Education Programs Officer, Ms. Shauna McGill, and Curator of Education and Terrestrial Programs, Mr. Geddes Hislop. So guys, welcome back to the show and Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
So for our first episode, we want to get right into it, remind the public of our efforts and what we're here for. So we want to talk about the 2023 nesting season. So could you start with giving me some background into green sea turtles, get the public's memory jogging?
Okay, well, at the Cayman Turtle Conservation Education Center, or Cayman Turtle Center for short, our programs are breeding and release, basic conservation and research on the green sea turtle. We have a wild animal in captivity, which means we have to be very conscious of its biology, its diet, its the reproduction, its habits, and that make it what a green sea turtle is. And we've been running this program for over 55 years, over 36,000 turtles released into the wild. So we have an idea of what we're doing by now. But the nesting season is a very important thing because this is probably the central part of the whole program. The whole idea is to produce numbers so we can release numbers. And understanding the breeding process is very important. So, well, actually, I could turn it over to Shauna because she, as the education programs officers, both Shauna and Wendy have to do these presentations a lot to the public. So how about if you start off with giving us some stats and figures on green sea turtle breeding?
Yeah, definitely very well versed in the turtle life cycle. So us at Cayman Turtle Center, we follow the wild turtle life cycle, which is pretty simple when you think about it. Right before nesting season, fully mature adults will come closer to shore to get ready for breeding, to lay their eggs. Now, usually in the wild, we say this happens between May to October for the green sea turtle. And within this season, the females will come up onto our local beaches to lay their eggs. Now, they might not do this every year. They lay a lot of eggs at once, and sometimes the turtles need a little bit of a break. So we usually say that sometimes turtles will take breaks for about 2 to 5 years between nesting. So she'll come up at nighttime, and the first thing she'll do is she'll dig a body pit, and then she'll dig an egg chamber with her back flippers, where she'll lay anywhere between 50 to 200 eggs. So like I said, a lot of eggs at one time. And she'll do this a couple of times in the season. So about between 2 to 10 times in the season, taking a break of about 2 weeks between. And then at the center, our eggs do not stay on our beach that we have. So all of our fully mature breeders are in our breeder pond, and right next to it we have a beach where our females can come up and lay their eggs. And they'll do this usually between May and October as well, but we are seeing a gradual shift forward.
Yeah, because if I remember right, the nesting season for 2023 started really early.
It did.
I think the first nest was actually in March.
Yeah, we think that we're probably seeing a shift due to the effects of climate change. It's also been recorded in wild nests across the world too.
So the shift and change is that earlier seasons, earlier starting and later ending, or earlier starting and ending earlier?
I wouldn't say they're ending earlier. We're still seeing it end around the same period. We're not seeing that benchmark shift, so they're still nesting up until October, but we're definitely seeing them nesting a little bit earlier in the season.
Okay, so you mentioned so far about the wild sea turtles and how they come up, and you mentioned the turtles at the center as well. They also come up, except the difference, their eggs are collected. Mm-hmm. So basically the turtles at the center have the same natural behavior as the turtles in the wild.
Yeah, the natural instincts of turtles is very, very strong, especially when it comes to nesting. Some of the turtles in our breeder pond were born and raised at the center, and still they have these really strong instincts for nesting. So they'll come up within the same period that wild turtles will nest, and they'll begin their climb up the beach, and they'll test the sand too. So before they're ready to lay their eggs, they'll go and test if the sand is adequate enough for them to lay their eggs. And then when they feel ready, they'll do that ritual of using their front flippers to dig that body pit, and then the rear flippers of digging the egg chamber.
Okay, I've heard you saying they test the sand. I've heard that they like nesting after rain. Is that true?
We've definitely noticed it. I don't know if that's a purely scientific thing, but we've definitely visually noticed an increase in nesting following rainfall.
I've noticed that too, because I've seen it in the early part of the season when it's still dry and they're trying to dig their nests. They seem to get frustrated because the sand is so dry that the egg chamber keeps collapsing itself.
Collapsing, okay.
It's quite an intricate process if anybody's ever seen it before. And at the Turtle Center, there's a video that runs all day long that gives you a snippet of a turtle digging a nest. And the intricacy that they use, those back flippers, basically they're paddles that turn into hands. And they're scooping out a nest, and they're actually patting the sides to firm the sides. But they get frustrated when the sides keep collapsing. And you can see after a while, they just give up and just go back in the water, try again. So it may not be scientific as a sense, but it does make sense.
Method to the madness. Okay.
Yeah, it's trying to build a sandcastle with dry sand.
Yeah, it's like making a sandcastle higher up the beach.
Yeah.
Okay, makes perfect sense now. Okay, so after you collect the eggs, what's next? What happens? And compare this to how you do this at the center and what happens in the wild.
So at the center, we don't leave our eggs on the breeder pond beach for various reasons, but also it allows us to control the incubation temperature. So in the wild, whether hatchlings emerge as male or female is dependent on their egg incubation temperature. So in our hatchery, we actually control the temperature of that room. We keep it at around 84 degrees. We use the saying, hot chicks, cool guys. So usually at warmer temperatures, you're going to get all females. Cooler temperatures, you're going to get all guys. if you go really high above the thresholds, the eggs might not be viable. But we keep our temperature in the middle, so that way we get a mix of both males and females. Now, in our hatchery, they do incubate for the same time as in the wild. So in the wild, they estimate that incubation time is about 60 days. In our hatchery, it's usually between 50 to 60 days as well.
That's amazing. I don't think a lot of people realize the intricacy and the details that you guys take and consider into, incubation temperature. So for an example, you saying that really puts importance on the center as a conservation institution. I'm thinking with global warming, as temperatures are heating up during hotter times, I would assume, as you said, hot chicks, cool guys are like that. That's going to stick with me. I'm assuming that you're getting a lot more females in wild populations worldwide. Have they done studies for that? Because now I'm thinking that if, necessary, you guys can manipulate the temperature to get a desired sex if needed for releasing purposes.
So they've definitely done studies on it, and we'll probably see some studies coming out of Cayman in the future as well. Excuse me. But in places like Florida and Australia, we're finding that their nests are mostly emerging as females because sand temperatures are warming, which is leading to nests emerging mostly as female or as all females. And in Cayman, we've gotten an inkling that the same thing might be happening here. We spoke with Department of Environment in season 1 of the Green Scene, and they hinted that our nest temperatures here are indicating the same thing might be happening. So that is very scary in the future. Right now, we might have to do some work. There's a great thing in having a lot of females because they're the ones who lay the eggs. But we do rely on male turtles as well to do their part, especially in providing the genetics for turtles. So in the future, we might be seeing that most of our wild population is females. And in the future, we might have to think about maybe rearing more males.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. Well, to add to that, the research at the center has shown, or not the research, but the records of the center has shown when they look at our breeding females every year, when the females lay, they know exactly which female is laying. And there's actually a genetic profile of all the breeders at our facility. So we know which female bred with which male, etc. You've noticed that the females will lay would mate with anywhere from 3 up to 7 males. And when you think about it, they're laying a lot of eggs over that season. One female could easily lay over 500 eggs for a season. They need a lot of genetic material. So, yeah, males are essential. They're not just one male, but a lot of males.
For genetic diversity.
Yeah, for genetic diversity and, I guess, for volume as well. Because they do mate with a lot of different males.
For someone who might be listening that doesn't quite understand the term genetic diversity, what might that mean?
Genetic diversity. Well, to avoid inbreeding, to put it simply, within one female turtle, if she's mating with, say, 3 different males, her offspring have that mix, and they have the best or worst characteristics of each male, plus the female itself. So that leads to genetic diversity, which means that makes a population a lot more resilient. Because like a simple example, if some disease, for example, affects the turtles, within that group of turtles, there's bound to be 1 or 2 that's resistant. And by mixing that population, you have a better chance of some surviving. And they pass on that resistance to their offspring and so on and so on. Okay, so genetic diversity is extremely important in populations, humans included.
Okay, so another question, I'm just going to backtrack about 2 paragraphs ago. You mentioned that when the turtles come up, you guys can identify exactly which turtle it is, and you record and keep a database on how much. How do you identify what turtle it is?
Each turtle is pit tagged, passive indicated transponder. It's a microchip in every turtle's shoulder. And when the turtle comes up, the Nest Watch staff will use a scanner, scan the turtle, record the the microchip number,
Got it.
and they know which turtle is laying. So they can tell which females are the best females for laying, which ones are young, which one old, that
That's
kind
really
of thing.
valuable data.
They're best
Okay.
prolific breeders, and then of course by studying the genetics, they can tell which males that they're mating with. You know, so yeah, it's a very controlled, well monitored program.
Okay. So come forward a few paragraphs back to when Ms. Shauna is speaking to. I think you left off with incubation of 60 days. So once they hatch out, what happens?
So once they emerge from their eggs, it depends what system they're in. One of the systems we have is a deep sand incubator. So this is the depth that our turtles lay their nests at the center, which is about 36 inches or 3 feet. So once they emerge, they'll open and rip open their egg and climb their way up that 3 feet of sand. Otherwise, they're just emerging from their incubation boxes at the center. If you've been there, our hatchery during nesting season is full of white boxes. We have a couple of rooms that hold these eggs, and they'll emerge from there, and they'll go to little trays while we wait for their belly buttons or yolk sacs to heal, which has water in it. And then once that's ready, they can either be released or they'll go to growing tanks.
All right. Very interesting. It's so interesting to hear about the conservation efforts and the programs that you guys have at the center. It's very detailed and very well thought out. But we're going to take a break right here. So much information to take in. Listeners, thanks for staying tuned with us on The Green Scene. We're going to take a break and listen to a few messages from our sponsors. When we get back, we'll be talking more in detail about the 2023 nesting season at the Cayman Turtle Center.
Looking for something fun and different to do with the family? Join us at the Cayman Turtle Center for Grill and Chill Saturdays. Every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., enjoy a poolside barbecue, buckets of beer and daiquiri specials, and a live DJ. It's Grill and Chill Saturdays at Cayman Turtle Center. Come and celebrate Cayman's culture and our national heroes at Cultural Day at the Cayman Turtle Center. Monday, the 22nd of January, Cayman Turtle Center will be celebrating from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. with incredible deals for you and your family. Come and enjoy food and drink specials all day long. Swim with the turtles and fish in the lagoon. Enjoy the live DJ poolside and have fun with cultural activities throughout the park. Come and celebrate our heroes and immerse yourself in Cayman's culture at Cultural Day at the Cayman Turtle Center, Monday, January 22nd.
Hi, listeners, and welcome back to The Green Scene, brought to you by Cayman Turtle Center. You're tuned in with Wendy Dandy, the Education Programs Officer. So before our break, we were just talking about the 2023 nesting season at the Cayman Turtle Center. And Ms. Shauna McGill and Mr. Geddes Hislop gave us a lot of really useful information about basic turtle biology and also about the breeding program and what takes place during nesting season at the center. Now back for our second segment, we brought in a new guest, and that is Dr. Vandana Babalal, also known as Dr. Navi at the Cayman Turtle Center. Welcome, Dr. Navi.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you guys for having me on this podcast this morning.
All right. Thanks for coming in as well. So I was speaking to your two colleagues earlier about the 2023 nesting season, as I said. What can you tell me personally about the season?
Yeah, so for 2023, we actually had a little shift that we saw. Breeding actually was happening earlier than expected, and we actually had our first nest possibly at the end of January, early February, with hatchlings actually emerging at the beginning of March. So that's the 60-day period after incubation. We saw them emerging in March. And usually we have our first nest being laid in March. So that was something to note that was very different from the years before.
All right. And does that usually happen where there's up and down dips?
So we're thinking it might be related to climate change and turtles adapting to the new temperatures. As you know, it is getting warmer earlier in the year. So we're thinking that they're starting to lay earlier in the year to help prevent laying in the warmer seasons.
Okay. That does make sense. Mr. Geddes and Shauna was talking earlier about how climate change has been affecting nesting seasons and also the determination of sex populations in the wild.
Yes, there are actually a lot of research being done worldwide with sea turtles right now, looking at this pattern as well with wild turtles to see if this is a trend that's going to continue or what's actually going to happen with future projections. They're trying different types of models with temperatures to determine if it's just the temperature alone that might be affecting the sea turtles or if there's something else that might be affecting the turtles as well, for them to adapt to laying at earlier times.
Okay. So as the veterinarian for the center, what would you say some of your duties or roles pertain to helping with a successful nesting season?
Actually, I'll say that it's a lot of teamwork involved to ensure that we have a successful nesting season. And why I say this is because firstly, we have our nest watchers. And these guys come onto the beach in the nighttime to monitor all the nesting activity from 6 p.m. in the afternoon till 6 a.m. in the morning.
Wow.
So these females are being monitored. They're coming up from our breeder pond, coming onto our artificial beach, and then they're going to be digging to make their nesting chamber for these to lay their eggs. While they're doing this, we have our nest watcher on standby, and once the female lays her eggs into the nesting chamber, then they go ahead and they collect these eggs and then take them to our hatchery for incubation. So the interesting thing here is this nest watcher is going to be quite busy at this time. They're monitoring the turtles coming up to lay. They're also recording the individual tag of the number so that we can match that female to that clutch of eggs. And they're also ensuring that every nest, actually all the eggs are collected from each nest and recorded. So we have a lot of record keeping going on here and data collection as well. So that's the first interesting and important part of the hatchery, our artificial beach, our nest watchers collecting the eggs from that beach, and also setting them into our incubation boxes in the hatchery. Now, when these eggs are set into the incubation boxes in the hatchery, they are done so in a particular manner. We have our nest watchers trained to pack our boxes of eggs. So each clutch of egg is sometimes split into multiple boxes to optimize hatchability. So we are not just taking a clutch of eggs and putting them all into the same box. So our nest watcher collects a clutch of eggs from female, which is individually tagged, and then moves this clutch into our hatchery area. At the hatchery area, the clutch is sometimes split into multiple boxes to provide optimal hatchability of the eggs. Each egg is packed to a specific protocol that was derived at the Turtle Center, and these nest watchers are trained in packing these boxes. Once the box is packed, the eggs are left in a temperature of 28 degrees Celsius and a particular moisture level. We like to use a 5% moisture level to ensure that the eggs successfully hatch.
Okay, it sounds like a very thorough and detailed SOPs that you guys have over there.
Yes, exactly. So during the 60-day period, while the eggs are being incubated, we do check on them every week to ensure the moisture level is maintained at our 5% level using a moisture probe, and also to ensure that the temperature is the same throughout the room.
Okay, and I believe Ms. Shauna mentioned earlier this lasts for 60 days, yeah?
Yes, 60 days. And the temperature is left at this level to ensure that we possibly get a 50% ratio of males to females. So one interesting thing that we do have at the Turtle Center during the nesting time is that we actually set up a display nest. So what we have is a plexiglass exhibit. We pack the eggs at a specific depth, which would reflect what would be the nesting chamber's depth in the wild. And what guests can see when they visit our hatchery area is that from day 60 onward, you can actually see the eggs hatching and the turtles crawling up that nesting chamber and coming to emerge at the top of that sand. And a few people who have seen that last year were very happy that they could witness something like that, because the only other place you get to see that is in the wild, and you're not going to be 100% sure when this clutch would be emerging. So I do encourage visitors to come out during our nesting season when we do these boxes, and they might be there for a treat one of these days.
Yeah, that's really cool to see them actually coming up the column. It's like behind the veil. So when is that available, just for those listening who would like to come around that time that are on island?
We usually try to set a box up June, July. So I would say between June and August period, we should have a few of them on display.
Okay.
And if we don't have the nesting box on display, you're guaranteed to see some hatchlings on display. We usually have a few of them, a few hatchlings that have emerged that morning before we move them into the nursery tanks. We put them on display for people to see, because I think people don't realize how small they are when they compare them to our adult turtles that we have out in the breeding pond. So it's always good to show them that, a turtle that size actually emerged from a hatchling that size, like an Oreo cookie, as we call them. And
Oreo cookie with flippers.
Yeah, exactly. And they do like to see the comparison. I think once you can visualize something, it makes it more easier to understand.
All right, because hatchlings, they're small little guys. They're less than a pound.
Oh, yeah, they're like grams. The hatchlings, when they emerge, when we've weighed a few of them, they're like 40 grams.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so let's put that in comparison to your biggest breeder. How much does...
Our biggest breeder, I think, ranges around 530, 540. We actually have to do our annual health check on her this year. So she's been maintaining over the 500s, which is a bit chunky. So
from a few grams
yes,
to over well over
exactly.
500 pounds. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So you actually just gave me a new question to ask you. Your breeders, you do stuff with them as well? What did you mention? You take each one out and do checkups on them annually?
Yeah, so every year we do our annual health checks on our breeder population at the center. So if you guys come on down, usually during February to March period, you might see us out there. It's again, teamwork and a lot of production. It usually involves 10 to 12 people sometimes, where we take each individual breeder adult-sized turtle out of the breeder pond and do a quick health check on that animal, ensure the body condition is in good, optimal condition for breeding, and also just give a general health check, take some samples if we need to, and then put them back into the breeder pond. So we've been starting this a little earlier now as well, because we're noticing that the breeding is starting earlier. So, we're trying our best not to disturb them as much, but usually it's around February time when we can get everyone together to do this process.
Wow, so that sounds like a whole production. So two things, sorry. When Mr. Geddes is here in the earlier segment, he mentioned about an extensive database that you guys keep for each turtle. So I assume that this info you add to each one's profile, I guess their weight and measurements.
Yes, definitely. So each of our adult turtles has their own little medical record. So it's as if you go to the doctor every year for your annual health check and they have your records there. We have our database as well, which is available on a program that's shared throughout different zoos and aquariums as well. It's called the ZIMS program, and it's usually all the information is uploaded onto a cloud system. So if I were to check the tag of one of my adult turtles and type it up on this system, I can look back at the medical records for the past 10 years of this animal. So I could monitor the weights, I could monitor the metrics, so the measurements, the curved carapace length, curved carapace width. So I can monitor and see if this turtle is growing within the years, or if the turtle is maintaining the same length, if the weight is decreased, giving a general body score, if there were any other issues with the animal. So it's very detailed, very thorough, and this roundup usually takes us 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks, depending on the weather as well.
I was going to say, how do you take a massive 500-pound turtle out? And you're doing them each individually. Also, my follow-up question is, how many turtles do you have to take out?
Yeah, so good question. So as I said, if people come down to the Turtle Center, they would see this big machine at the front of our breeder pond. So we actually use our telehandler machine, and we've built a big cage, a big square cage that we actually put into the breeder pond, and we have divers in there that are diving and trying to get our turtles into that basket, and then we pull them up to the surface, individually check them, and then we lower the basket. We also mark these turtles, so we're not repeating the same turtle daily. And that took a little while to figure out, what do you mark these turtles with that would stay on for this period of time? So, as I said, a lot of effort and research goes into ensuring that this breeder roundup is successful.
And how many breeders is it about, estimation?
I believe we have, I think, almost 285 breeders in there right now.
And you take each one out individually?
Yes.
That is extensive. That's amazing conservation work as well, too.
Yeah.
So you mentioned ZIMS, that you enter this information there. So ZIMS, from what I'm understanding, what it sounds like, it's like an international zoological database, basically?
Correct.
So?
And other institutes can actually have a look at our animals at our facility as well, and us vice versa. So if I did have, a question about some type of turtle medical treatment, I could possibly look on the ZIMS database, and if the information is shared, I can see what other institutes did for that treatment as well.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yes, and it also is very helpful if you're transferring an animal to a different institute. Everything is already on that system, so you can just pass along the information to the institute.
It's amazing to see, that the Cayman Turtle Center is such an established and esteemed conservation institute that people don't really tend to notice. You think of the tourist side of it, not so much of the research and conservation efforts.
Yes, Wendy, I agree with you. It's so interesting because we've actually been recognized by ZIMS last year. We were featured in their newsletter that goes to all the zoos and institutes that subscribe to ZIMS, and they actually thanked us for contributing to a lot of data that was input onto their cloud system, and to show people how to actually manage the big captive collections. So
wow.
it's nice to see
Well,
that we're being
congratulations
recognized.
to you
Thank
guys.
you.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was a lot for our second segment. Thank you so much, Dr. Navi. It's a lot of useful information. But we're going to take a break right here just to listen to a few more ads from our sponsors. So please stay tuned to The Green Scene, brought to you by Cayman Turtle Center. And we'll be back after these messages.
Looking for something fun and different to do with the family? Join us at the Cayman Turtle Center for Grill and Chill Saturdays. Every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., enjoy a poolside barbecue, buckets of beer and daiquiri specials, and a live DJ. It's Grill and Chill Saturdays at Cayman Turtle Center. Come and celebrate Cayman's culture and our national heroes at Cultural Day at the Cayman Turtle Center. Monday, the 22nd of January, Cayman Turtle Center will be celebrating from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. with incredible deals for you and your family. Come and enjoy food and drink specials all day long. Swim with the turtles and fish in the lagoon. Enjoy the live DJ poolside and have fun with cultural activities throughout the park. Come and celebrate our heroes and immerse yourself in Cayman's culture at Cultural Day at the Cayman Turtle Center, Monday, January 22nd.
Welcome back, listeners, to The Green Scene, brought to you by Cayman Turtle Center. I'm your host, Wendy Dandy, and I'm in studio today with some of the amazing staff members, a part of the animal programs team that work at the Cayman Turtle Center. So on our last segment, we had Dr. Navi join us and speak to us in more detail about the nesting season for 2023 at the Cayman Turtle Center. And now we're joined back with the curator of terrestrial and education programs, Mr. Geddes Hislop, still joined with our Education Programs Officer, Ms. Shona McGill, and we're going to talk now more about wild nest populations. So before we get into it, I'm not sure if this is general knowledge to the public, but the wild turtle populations are dealt with by the Department of Environment, whereas the captive turtles are dealt with by the Cayman Turtle Center, and you have your own release program as well.
Yeah.
So what can you tell us about the wild nest populations?
Okay. Well, just basically to put a cap on what you just said, our job is to get the turtles into the water. And once they get there, they're under the jurisdiction of the Department of Environment. So yeah, most of the turtles, I think, in previous episodes we have talked about that release program. And to date, over 36,000 captive bred turtles have been released into the wild. And studies have shown that over 90% of the wild nesting population here on Grand Cayman and about 80% of the population in Little Cayman of nesting green sea turtles have been proven to be genetically related to our release program. So there is a connection between ourselves and what the DOE does. Basically, we put them in the water and DOE takes care of them after that.
Okay, so thank you for that, Geddes. So from the wild nesting populations, do you guys see that there's a difference? Do you feel like the your conservation efforts at the center has been making a difference on wild populations?
Yeah, so the results of that study that Geddes mentioned were really vital and important to just show how effective the release program is at repopulating the wild. But more importantly, information put out by Department of Environment about their nest surveys or their wild nest surveys is quite telling as well. They started their nest surveys in 1999, I believe. And back then there were very, very few green turtle nests. So green turtles were essentially considered functionally extinct. There wasn't enough of a reproducing population to continue the species, which is a pretty scary thought. Now, our release program started in around 1980, and we're working with a very slow maturing species. In the wild, it can take green turtles anywhere between 20 to 30 years to become sexually mature and come back to lay their eggs. And what we are seeing is an upward trend in turtle nesting numbers, and that's incredible to see, not only for seeing our sea turtle population come back, but also seeing that the sea turtles are recovering. Now, in this time period, you're going to see natural dips. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, turtles may take between 2 to 5 years between nesting. They lay a lot of eggs at once. They need a break, just like us humans do. So we are seeing natural dips in that, but we are also seeing a massive increase in turtle nests. So Department of Environment actually put on their social media pages that the 2023 nesting season saw over 1,000 sea turtle nests across the 3 islands.
Wow, 1,000.
Over 1,000, and that includes all 3 species that nest here, so the green turtle, the loggerhead turtle, and the hawksbill turtle. And in fact, Grand Cayman saw over 600 turtle nests.
So do nest equal turtles? The amount of turtles? Is that 600 turtles or 1,000 turtles?
No, that would be great if it actually correlated to the number of nesting females, but it definitely does not. So during a nesting season, a female can come up anywhere between 2 to 10 times in the nesting season to lay eggs. So it definitely doesn't correlate to number of females.
Okay, so one female can come up multiple times during the one season to lay a clutch of eggs. Got it. But that's impressive. So this is a record for 1,000 nests between the 3 islands. That's amazing. It's so good to know and so inspiring.
Yeah, another great thing to see is we do have a captive breeding population for the green turtles, but also the loggerhead nesting numbers are increasing as well. Now, loggerheads aren't necessarily a species that was exploited here, but it is really great to see their numbers increase.
Yeah, and increasing numbers also have so many benefits. Releasing a turtle into the wild is more than just putting an animal back out there. There are environmental, cultural, even economic, socioeconomic implications for doing that. Green turtles, for example, are marine herbivores, and they're very important for maintaining the health of our reefs by grazing algae and so on off the reefs, even eating sargassum. So having them out there means you have environmental engineers, keystone species that are helping maintain the health of the environment. Loggerheads as well, they eat a lot of shellfish, so they help control those populations too. So having these big marine animals out there is very important to maintain the health of our marine environment. And as we all know, if you live in Cayman Islands, in a small island, you're very dependent on our marine environment for a number of things. So seeing the turtle populations increase like this is an indication of the health of our environment, because they're more or less at the top of their food chain. So if those animals are doing well, theoretically everything down below them is doing well at the same time.
Sounds to me like you're explaining a keystone species.
Yes.
So for those who don't know what a keystone species is, I mean, it's basically what you just said, but just to reiterate, because sorry, before you continue, as you were saying, there are not a lot of large herbivores, right?
No.
How many species or how many can you think of?
Marine herbivores?
Yeah,
maybe
marine.
3. Large marine herbivores.
Okay, and that'd be
green
the
sea
green
turtles, manatees, dugongs.
Wow, so green sea turtles definitely play a big factor then,
Yeah.
because there's so few large grazers, right?
Yes.
So as a keystone species, then their importance.
Yeah, they're important because they're important to maintaining the health of the environment. I'd like to say they have a profound effect on the environment. It's kind of like elephants.
Okay.
Elephants in the savannah. You get big elephants in the savannah. They maintain the savannah because they push down trees, they graze things, they create water holes, that kind of thing. Green turtles, they graze on algae, especially when we get our seagrass meadows in the sounds. They maintain the health of those seagrass beds because they're mowing the beds, just like you mow your lawn to keep it healthy. And again, loggerheads, as Shauna said, loggerhead numbers seem to be doing well. Loggerheads eat crustaceans and crabs and lobsters and so on. You get too many of those things, they graze, and they can overexploit their environment as well. So you need something to control them. So again, having these big species out there and seeing their health, seeing them being healthy and recovering, it just by implication, all the other creatures below them are doing well.
Okay, you mentioned them eating that sargassum too. That alone is enough reason for conservation. And for those listeners who aren't sure what sargassum is, just a fancy word, or the scientific name of the seaweed that we have problems with in the Caribbean. As of the past couple of years, once it washes up, stinky brown, rotten seaweed that comes around every couple of months. So yeah, more green sea turtles being out there to eat that would definitely help, because it seems like those blooms are getting more and more every year as well.
Well, like everything, like Getty's mentioned, too much of something is a problem, but too little of something is an issue too. Because close to shore, sargassum isn't that great. Like you said, it's dead and rotting and quite stinky. But out in the open ocean, sargassum is incredible habitat for juvenile or hatchling sea turtles. So it gives them shelter, it gives them a place to rest, it gives them food. So yeah, too much of something, a problem, too little of something, a problem as well.
Yeah.
Okay, fine balance.
Yes, what scientists call the Goldilocks effect.
The Goldilocks zone.
Everything's not too much, not too little. It's got to be just right. And it's always a flux. For the math nerds, it's kind of like a sine wave. When you do population, everything goes up and down, up and down. And then you have creatures like sea turtles that help maintain that balance. Mm-hmm. Things going up and down.
Kind of like the referees of the ocean.
Yeah, I guess you could call it that. Yeah, sea turtles, sharks, things like that. Yeah. Okay, so you've told me about the loggerheads. There are numbers coming back, obviously a lot about the green sea turtle. But you did mention 3 species nest in these islands. So the hawksbill, I haven't heard a lot about that species of marine sea turtle. So could you tell me?
Yeah, so we really commend the hard work that the Department of Environment does to monitor and also protect the wild turtle nests that happen here in the Cayman Islands. Now, worldwide, hawksbill turtles are considered critically endangered. They're very much exploited because of their beautiful shell pattern that is used for jewelry, and it's not a nice process. Worldwide, it's considered poaching, which is illegally taking an animal from the wild. And worldwide, they're critically endangered, but more importantly here, we have pretty, I would say, low nesting numbers for the hawksbill sea turtle. But this year, Department of Environment recorded 9 hawksbill nests across the Cayman Islands, which is really, really lovely to see.
So 9 is considered a good number compared to previous years.
Zero.
Considered to
Zero.
lower, yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay.
So, like the loggerhead plays an important role, like the green plays an important role, hawksbill turtles play an important role too. They're called spongivores, so they eat sea sponges, and they're one of the few animals in the ocean that can. And sea sponges can compete with coral reefs.
Yeah, because they grow faster than coral, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Just think
Okay.
of them like an amoeba or a blob slowly spreading over the reef. You don't keep it under control.
So the hawksbill eating sponge then gets rid of the competition, allowing space for
Yeah.
for the coral to grow. Okay. Everything has a knock-on effect, as you said.
Everything does, yes.
All right, so that was another amazing section, jam-packed of amazing facts that you guys have informed us about. So we're going to take another quick break to have some more messages from our sponsors. You are listening to The Green Scene, brought to you by Cayman Turtle Center. Thank you for listening, and please stay tuned. We will be back after these messages.
Looking for something fun and different to do with the family? Join us at the Cayman Turtle Center for Grill and Chill Saturdays. Every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., enjoy a poolside barbecue, buckets of beer and daiquiri specials, and a live DJ. It's Grill and Chill Saturdays at Cayman Turtle Center. Come and celebrate Cayman's culture and our national heroes at Cultural Day at the Cayman Turtle Center. Monday, the 22nd of January, Cayman Turtle Center will be celebrating from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. with incredible deals for you and your family. Come and enjoy food and drink specials all day long. Swim with the turtles and fish in the lagoon. Enjoy the live DJ poolside and have fun with cultural activities throughout the park. Come and celebrate our heroes and immerse yourself in Cayman's culture at Cultural Day at the Cayman Turtle Center, Monday, January 22nd.
Welcome back to The Green Scene, brought to you by the Cayman Turtle Center. You're here with your host, Wendy Dandy, and we have been talking all morning to various staff members at the Cayman Turtle Center, and we've been talking about the 2023 turtle nesting season, as well as a bit of discussion about wild nest populations as well, and numbers of nests around the islands for 2023 so far. We've learned about basic turtle biology and their life cycle. We've learned about the conservation efforts and how the center goes about taking care of future generations of turtles. And now lastly, we want to talk about threats, just to bring our conversation to a close. So guys, could you tell me what are some of the biggest threats to marine turtles in general, and also ways that we can help these populations thrive and survive?
Yeah, so I think it's really, really important to highlight that even though turtle nesting is increasing in the Cayman Islands, that it might not reflect on the whole turtle population of the Cayman Islands, because sea turtles still face an extraordinary amount of threats out there in the ocean. We usually say that the survival rate for sea turtles from hatching to fully mature breeding adult is about 1 in 1,000, which is a scary statistic, and it could possibly be even lower. And they have many things facing them. So if you live in Grand Cayman especially, you may have noticed that beach erosion is playing a massive role on our beaches here. Like I remember Governor's Beach being quite a lot longer than it was. Public Beach, West Bay Public Beach, the beach by the Marriott. And that'll definitely affect sea turtle nesting going forward, they heavily rely on our beaches to lay their eggs. So as we are losing this valuable real estate from them, we are going to see a lot of issues in nesting going forward. But then you also add development into that and developing beaches where sea turtles nest.
Yeah, and that's just one thing. Some of these things may or may not be out of our control. Climate change, for example. And climate change does play into our loss of our beaches, increasing the erosion, increasing temperatures. A little earlier we discussed the nesting temperatures and how it's affecting nests in the Florida Keys and in Australia. Climate change is becoming an issue. And of course, we still have poaching. Poaching is still an issue here in the Cayman Islands. In earlier segments, we talked about the issues of poaching and what Turtle Center's role in trying to mitigate that. But, the thing is, turtles are doing well, but they still need our help. So they're not out of it yet.
Yeah, and then you mentioned climate change, and another thing most people don't think about with climate change is increasing storms as well, which, as you briefly mentioned, can lead to beach erosion and losing viable nesting habitat. But also for us, increased storms is a bit scary for us too. So it doesn't just affect the turtles, although.
Yeah, but there are still things you can do. It's not all doom and gloom.
I was just about to say, what can we do to help conservation efforts or help our fellow marine turtles out?
Oh, well, some things you can do a little, some things you can do a lot. Well, for one thing, by listening to this podcast. It's one way you're informed.
Kudos, that's 1 point already. Everybody listening?
Yes, you're informed, so you
Yeah.
can make better decisions that might be able to help. School children visiting our facility, they go home with a message. Just try to reduce plastics, reduce, reuse, recycle. I mean, marine pollution is one of the biggest issues out there, apart from overexploitation. And the more we can do to help reduce marine pollution, the better it is for sea turtles and for everything else that lives in the ocean. We tell kids, the education officers there, we try to get them to think about picking up 3 pieces of plastic every day. It doesn't mean they're going to do it every day, but just to develop that mindset and awareness in them. So if they see a plastic bag on the side of the road, maybe they might pick it up, or they kick a bottle cap, maybe they might pick that up. But it doesn't sound like much, but 3 pieces of plastic a day, a lot of people doing it, it adds up. The numbers add up.
Yeah, the smallest bottle cap could be the difference of saving a marine animal's life, huh?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, it could.
80% of marine pollution comes from the land. So even just by picking up those 3 pieces, you don't think you'll have a massive effect on pollution, but you definitely do.
Guys, pull over and pick up those plastic bags.
Yes.
Please.
Other conservation things you can do, not just picking up pieces of plastic or trash from the ground when you see it, but just reducing your own waste and what you produce. So buy reusable water bottles. The National Trust has some really cool ones on sale for the Blue Iguana Conservation Program.
That's really nice, actually.
So buying reusable water bottles, not only do you save yourself money, but you save the planet in the long run too. Or even just making simple habit changes that don't bother you all that much. Like maybe switching from plastic Tupperware to glass Tupperware instead. Unless you're a little bit of a klutz like me, and usually lasts you a lot longer, and it saves the planet.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, thank you for your time you've taken today. We've learned a lot of valuable information for you. This was a really great way to kick off our first episode and dust off our mics and get back in the studio, remind everyone of our purpose and our mission to educate Cayman on environmental and conservation issues. It was great to have you guys in studio today. And everyone, thank you for listening. Just a reminder to stay tuned and tune in to the Green Scene every Saturday at 11 a.m. on Bobo 89.1 FM. So before we wrap up, just a few announcements at what takes place at the Cayman Turtle Center, upcoming this week and throughout the month. Just to let you know, we have our daily shark talks and shark feedings. Our shark talks take place at 10:30 every morning in front of our shark tanks, Monday to Friday, and our shark feedings take place at 11 a.m. sharp on the bridge, Monday to Friday every week as well. On Wednesdays, we have our croc feeding at 11:45, where we feed our resident croc, Miss Smiley. Also, we have our daily aviary bird feedings from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., where you can come and feed a variety of our tropical birds that we have. And although nesting season is over, you can still come to the center and snorkel in our turtle lagoon and interact with our green sea turtles at our touch tanks. Also, feel free to get in touch with us about our annual passes. This is a great way to save and enjoy the center year-round. You can get in contact with us at info@turtle.ky to inquire about these passes. Lastly, and for the month of January, our public holiday, National Heroes Day, we will be hosting an event at the Cayman Turtle Center on Monday, January 22nd from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We'll be showcasing talents of local artisans, crafters, and cultural ambassadors. The event features a live DJ poolside, along with food and drink specials and cultural activities for the whole family. We will be featuring cultural ambassadors such as Mr. D.L. Ebanks, Mr. Jerris Miller, and many more. Food and drinks include Cayman beef sliders, cassava cake, swanky, Cayman lemonade, fresh coconuts to drink, and everything you desire. Please come out, and we hope to see you there. Thanks for listening today, and I'll see you guys again next week on our second episode of The Green Scene.
Looking for something fun and different to do with the family? Join us at the Cayman Turtle Center for Grill and Chill Saturdays. Every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., enjoy a poolside barbecue, buckets of beer and daiquiri specials, and a live DJ. It's Grill and Chill Saturdays at Cayman Turtle Center. Come and celebrate Cayman's culture and our national heroes at Cultural Day at the Cayman Turtle Center. Monday, the 22nd of January, Cayman Turtle Center will be celebrating from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. with incredible deals for you and your family. Come and enjoy food and drink specials all day long. Swim with the turtles and fish in the lagoon. Enjoy the live DJ poolside and have fun with cultural activities throughout the park. Come and celebrate our heroes and immerse yourself in Cayman's culture at Cultural Day at the Cayman Turtle Center, Monday, January 22nd.
Hi, this is Geddes from the Cayman Turtle Conservation and Education Center.
Hi, this is Shona from the Cayman Turtle Conservation and Education Center.
Hey, this is Wendy from the Cayman Turtle Conservation and Education Center.
We're inviting you to our new show.
Welcome to Cayman Turtle Center.
A day of fun and adventure awaits at Cayman Turtle Center Island Wildlife Encounter. Swim and snorkel alongside sea turtles and other marine life. Meet tropical birds in the aviary, ride our turtle twister water slide, or simply relax by the lagoon. Plan your adventure today.
Visit us online at www.turtle.ky